Now,
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:06, and we're trudging right along here this Wednesday morning. Thanks for joining us on O'Connor and Company. Coming up at 6:35, Cal Thomas. 7:05, Derek Anderson, former Green Beret who trained with the IDF. We'll find out what he thinks of the what's going on the ground there on the Gaza border. At 7:35, Hans von Spakovsky, latest election and voting news. And at 8:05, Caroline Glick, also an expert on the long-time dispute between the people of Israel and the residents of the Gaza Strip. I am Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
And
Great
Julie,
lineup.
We're joined right now by another member of the great lineup. He is running for the Virginia State Senate seat of District 33, and hopefully he will catch us up to speed on what District 33 entails, because they changed these district lines just now, and everyone's confused. Mike Van Meter. Meter, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Larry, how are you? Mike Van Meter.
Meter.
Nice
I knew
Meter.
that. I knew
Mike Van Meter.
that. Exactly. And it's Van Meter for Virginia.com. All right, real fast, just yet. I think it is important that everyone, because people think they're in a district and then they go and they find out, oh, wait, that's not my district anymore. So what's 33 looking like these days?
Yeah, that's right. This whole election cycle is very confusing to people. But the 33rd district is going to be Burke over to parts of West Springfield, down to through the I-95 corridor down to just about Dumfries. So it's eastern Prince William, and then up into southern Fairfax County.
These are our people. This is good.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
All right. So tell us what got you to this place where you're now running for the state Senate of Virginia.
Well, I tell you, I'm like everyone in your audience. I am absolutely fed up with what people are doing to our country and to the great Commonwealth of Virginia. And what brought me here is, I'm now in my fifth, actually going into my sixth way of serving my nation. If I get elected into the state, I started out as a helicopter pilot in the Navy for 8 years. Then I was a corrections officer, then a police officer, then an FBI agent, retired from the FBI, and now I work as an addictions therapist. And God willing, I get elected, I'll be a state senator serving everybody in this audience.
You are facing you're facing Carol Foy.
Yep.
She has said she's obviously on the left. But she said her priority is abortion rights in Virginia, but also she wants to ban automatic weapons. I think we are seeing what's going on the border. We're seeing what's going on in Israel. We're seeing what happened when those Hamas terrorists came across the border in Israel, and those people were largely defenseless. And sadly, that's because Israel has some pretty hardcore gun laws. I think that was very clear to people. They need to be able to defend themselves. Tell us your position on gun rights.
Yeah, well, first of all, trying to ban automatic weapons, she's demonstrating her absolute ignorance of the law and weapons to begin with. You, Julie, don't know anyone that legally owns an automatic weapon. So let's just start with that. They're already illegal, which shows that these people have no idea what they're talking about. And that's part of where I'm coming from right now. And that is this. I'm a bit tired. I don't know about you, Julie and Larry, but I'm tired of people that have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, creating laws for us. And we need to enforce the laws that we already have, not create more laws. And when it comes to abortion, I got to tell you this. I'm not sure that abortion is quite the issue that they think it is, because with the hundreds of doors that I've knocked on, I think I've had one person bring up abortion. But I'll tell you what they do talk about, and that is the transitioning of my kids and then putting a wedge between me, my kids, and the teachers.
Amen.
That's what people are fired up about. And you know what? Let's get some adults back into office down there in Richmond. I'm getting really tired of this. And I'll tell you, we're real close to losing this whole country and this state if we're not careful.
It's a great point, Mr. Van Meter, because as you know, Jennifer Carol Foy, who is currently your opponent for the Senate seat, it's an open Senate seat, by the way. She's a member of the House of Delegates. She's asking for a promotion. She was there when Ralph Northam shut the Commonwealth down and kept children out of school. And it's amazing when you go to her website, you ask her about her priorities. Her number 2 priorities is education. Listen to this. The coronavirus pandemic has further exposed the systemic inequities in our system. She sat there and encouraged those inequities by keeping kids on their kitchen table instead of in the school because she knuckled under to Randi Weingarten. I'd love for you to address this education issue specifically and what you would do for the people of your district.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. Again, I'm tired of being lectured by the left, and you pointed out that she was in the House of Delegates, and she's looking for promotion. I'll tell you something else.
Yeah, she's acting like she was a bystander. Oh, look at this thing that happened during COVID-19. Yeah. She did it.
Yeah, she did. And I'll tell you, Larry, she's running for the state Senate, and she's raised $1.6 million, and she hasn't spent a dime of it on me because she doesn't think I have any chance of winning. And she's woefully underestimating me. And that $1.6 million is going to be used to run for governor again, which is what she did. She doesn't plan on – she's not going to stay in this seat, the Senate seat, if she gets it. Okay, she's not going to stay there. She's going to run again, and we're going to have a special election to go through this again. And when it comes to education, we know. Listen, Larry. We know what the left did. We have 2 years now of knowing what the left did to us. And my plea to every one of your listeners is this: we can win this election if you vote. Money doesn't vote; people votes. Get out and vote because we can win this. We absolutely can. But she was part of shutting the schools down, and everything with her is about race. Yeah. Everything is about race. Inequities. Yeah. She says that everybody's racist. All the police are racist. The entire criminal justice system is racist. And as somebody that has spent nearly my entire adult life working within the criminal justice system, I take great offense to that. And every person in uniform out there protecting this community should be absolutely offended by what she says because she has no idea what it's like to work as a police officer. I do. I was a D.C. cop. Let me tell you something. If she could spend one night with us out on the street, she would be ashamed of herself for talking about these people in the way that she does. This is one of the most dangerous jobs that you can do. And we cannot, because of rhetoric like hers, we cannot staff any of our police departments. So you guys are down in D.C., so you sure as heck know that. We can't even staff the officers that we need.
Really quickly, I'd love you to talk on, you touched on this earlier about sort of the role of parents and that they matter. And not just her, not just your opponent, but Virginia Democrats are insane in this pursuit to keep secrets from parents. Tell me how you would involve parents in their children's lives.
Well, absolutely, they should be involved. And when I've been to schools, and I've had a couple of liberals come up to me and they say, "Yeah, but you know what? What if our child, or what if a child goes to school and they say that they want to transition, and that information gets back to the parent, that child now is subject to abuse." And what I say to them is this: we do have CPS, we do have a law enforcement system.
Yes.
And teachers and counselors are what's known as mandated reporters, as I am now as a therapist. And if I am having a conversation with a patient and I believe that there's abuse occurring in the home, I'm mandated to report that. It's always been that way. That's not going to change.
Yep.
But what they're doing, Julie, is they're assuming that every parent will abuse their child. And I absolutely don't buy that. And that is not going to be an excuse to then come in and really what they're trying to do is co-parent. Or take over parenting for children. And what we're going to do, the governor has these model policies that have come out, and that's exactly what they are. They haven't been legislated because the Republicans don't have the Senate, and that's what we need to fix. And one of the things I'm going to do in Richmond is go down there, and we're going to introduce legislation to legislate these model policies. Okay, the governor needs the teeth to be able to enforce these things and go from policies to law. But folks, we have to have the Senate to be able to do that. So vote. Get it out and vote.
Yep, absolutely. It's time. Let's get going and let's change this Commonwealth for the better. Mike Van Meter. It's vanmeterforvirginia.com. Let him add this to his long list of service to this nation and send a clear message to the Jennifer Carroll Foys of the world. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Good luck on the campaign.
Hey, thank you, guys. Good talking with you.
It is 6:15 now. WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes, first on the fives. Jamie Witten's in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning.
Weeknights from 6 till 9.
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is how the end of the world begins. Chinese scientists are analyzing some viruses they found. Where have I heard this before? Oh, I've seen this movie. I know how this ends. You know how Hollywood just keeps writing the same screenplay over and over again? Apparently. Here's what happened. You got these scientists, and just, they all work for the Chinese government. That's how authoritarian communist regimes work. So these are scientists working for the Chinese government. And they analyzed 682 anal and throat swabs collected from various rodents on the island of Hainan between 2017 and 2021. And after checking all the anal swabs of rodents, they have discovered 8 never-before-seen viruses. It's like, hey, we haven't seen that before. Now, any normal human...
rats are dirty animals. I'm sure there's lots of undiscovered things up the butts of rats. Why
yeah,
is this news?
Number 1, stop looking up rats' butts.
Yeah, seriously, just keep the swabs out.
Number 2, you find these never-before-seen viruses that have never been seen anywhere on the planet Earth. Okay, well, we have a lot of nuclear weapons. We get rid of this island and end it now, okay?
Fine, yeah.
But instead, they've decided to bring them back to the mainland and start experimenting with them. They're experimenting on the 8 never-before-seen viruses because they want a greater understanding of what these viruses might be able to do.
Look, keep swabs out of rats' butts first.
Right.
It's like caving. There's nothing good to be found in there. Why do it?
Thinking.
Just stay
right.
up.
It's a very tight little narrow cave, but a cave nonetheless.
Anyway,
yeah. Apparently, we have a quote here from one of the scientists. Strangely, I was expecting a Chinese name, but this name seems Italian. He says, I just want you to know that this is for the betterment of humankind.
Okay, that's not an Italian accent.
I am science, and if you disagree with our experiments, you're science too. We're going to look at the anal swabs from the rats here in China because I'm Chinese, I'll have you know. And I would like to thank the United States of America for funding
You've just ruined the Bond movie with that, by the way. If you'd done a true Italian accent, because I mean, how perfect that the spokesman is Italian.
Well, that's my Fauci.
Was that?
You know what, Julie? It was a great Fauci, and everybody else got it. That's the Italian name.
Now I understand it was Fauci. I'm sorry. I apologize. That was good. Should we do it again? Want to start over?
I love how everybody says, you and Julie, how long do you rehearse those things that you do on the air?
This is definitely not rehearsed.
This will blow that myth apart. Meanwhile, researchers here in the United States, also probably inspired by Anthony Fauci, have for the first time deliberately infected people with the Zika virus.
What is wrong with these people?
This is a breakthrough, a scientific breakthrough that could help advance our understanding of the disease. Or it could help spread the Zika virus. I don't know. It's a coin flip. Let's see what happens.
And scientists have revived a zombie virus that spent 45,000 years frozen in permafrost.
Yeah.
I need a drink.
Well, I would check the ice.
Start drinking now.
Speaking of permafrost, I mean, who knows what's in the ice cubes of your drink? We'll see what happens with this, I guess. You'll be the first to know. This whole idea of deliberately infecting people with Zika. Listen, I understand when you try to come up with a cure to something, you have to, let the virus run. Who volunteers for this project, though?
I mean, that's a better use of rats.
Right, exactly.
I mean, why don't you infect these rats with Zika? No, they're probing their butts.
The researchers, led by Johns Hopkins professor Anna Durbin, recruited 28 female volunteers. Why, it's just women? Wow.
We have figured out what's wrong with women in this country.
To see whether they could be safely infected with one of 2 different Zika strains, all of whom agreed to stay in a medical unit until they were no longer contagious.
Good.
And for their own safety. Well, I mean, obviously, this is a way to develop a vaccination, inoculation. You got to work on some humans at some point. So Godspeed, young ladies. It's 6:22. Damn right. Shaft. Oh, this is sad. The passing of Richard Roundtree, a Hollywood icon. His first film was Shaft, 1971, and after that, 159 credits on IMDb. I remember him. I was too young to see Shaft when it first came out. I eventually did, though. But I remember seeing His Man Friday. He was, the Robinson Crusoe story with Peter O'Toole, and it was all focused on him. Friday, he was great. Just an iconic actor. He was Samuel L. Jackson before Samuel L. Jackson was Samuel L. Jackson. And he played all those great parts in all those great movies in the 70s that they now call blaxploitation movies.
Right, of course.
But at the time, they were as the New York Times puts it, a leading figure in a movement of highly profitable 70s films that presented black people in a manner rarely seen in mainstream movie theaters. Confident and seductive, powerful and competent. They weren't blaxploitation. They were empowering, and they were awesome.
Right.
And he was great.
He was great. And he was also in Roots, an iconic American miniseries about slavery. He was in MacGyver, Beverly Hills 90210, sort of cross-generational there of things that he appeared in. Yeah, quite the legend in Hollywood. Sad.
Rest in peace, Richard Roundtree. But, I mean, let's face it, he'll always be Shaft.
That's right.
Damn right.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
News now
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:37 on a super busy Wednesday morning. We'll keep you going here throughout the day with everything you need to know. 7:05, Derek Anderson, not only is he running for the nomination in the 7th Congressional District of Virginia, he's also a former Green Beret and trained with the IDF, so he'll give us his firsthand experience about what the Israeli military is really capable of and what they're looking to do in Gaza. 7:35, Hans von Spakovsky of Heritage, election expert, and 8:05, Caroline Glick, who is on the ground in Israel. I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
And joining us now is Cal Thomas. Cal, are you traveling today? You're always somewhere.
No. I'm sitting here at home, Larry, and looking forward to talking to the two of you. I'm glad you're having Caroline Glick on. She's a good friend. Just had dinner with she and her husband a few months ago in Israel. She really knows the scene.
Yeah, she's great, and she tells it like it is, regardless of political affiliation. And I have to say, you were so passionate last week in decrying these protests, so-called protests that we're seeing, literally in favor of the terrorists, using anti-Semitic language like from the river to the sea. Your governor, DeSantis, just ordered the University of Florida and South Florida to deactivate the groups known as Students for Justice in Palestine, saying that they're violating laws against anti-Semitism. That's sort of what has to be done here, doesn't it?
It does indeed, and congratulations to him and also to Larry Hogan, the former governor of Maryland, who has withdrawn from 2 fellowships at Harvard and issued a blistering statement about Harvard's activities and the students there. Listen, these people have to be taught. There was an Oscar Hammerstein song in South Pacific, you've got to be taught to hate. Babies don't grow up hating Jews. Babies don't grow up wanting to be on the side of so-called Palestinians. There's a recording the Israelis just released this morning or last night, depending on the time zone, of a terrorist calling his father on the phone of a Jewish woman saying, I just killed 10 Jews. Meanwhile, much of the media is focused on the horrors against the Palestinians. You've got to continue to remind people that Israel warned that terror was coming to them, not that kind of terror, but another kind, and the Gazans, the Hamas people, hide the civilians among the military targets, so when Israel tries to take them out, civilians get killed, and they parade them before the cameras. It's the same thing we've seen over and over and over again.
Cal, I've been reading you for years, and you and many other columnists on the right have been warning about the radicalism we're seeing in higher ed. And now this happens, and we see, Lawrence Summers and, commentators like Barry Weiss, and now these billionaires who are saying, don't hire these, freaks who are on campus rallying for Hamas. And that's great. I'm really glad people are finally waking up. But, I feel a little bitter in some ways that these people like you and others have warned about this for years. And in some ways we're ridiculed for these warnings. What do you make of that? Are you as bitter as I am, or are you like, great, join the club, welcome?
Well, yeah, I'm sorry for the loss of life, and I'm sorry people don't listen to the truth. You have Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, once again saying that he said this at the UN on Monday, the only solution to this is the two-state solution. Well, I say if you think a two-state solution, if you think a state right next to Israel is going to solve the problem, I offer you Gaza times 10. There's going to be more terrorism moving in. There's going to be the final solution that Hitler hoped for, completed by Hamas, by Hezbollah, and by all these other terrorist groups. Wake up, people. Yeah. It's not going to work. They think they have a religious mandate to kill Jews. How do you negotiate that?
Yeah. I mean, listen, Cal, you're the author of the book A Watchman in the Night, what I've seen over 50 years reporting on America, and I know what you saw because I read your columns. In the 90s, Bill Clinton dragged Israel to the table with Yasser Arafat, and they were going to get their state. All Yasser Arafat had to do on behalf of the so-called Palestinian people was to say Israel has a right to exist, and they couldn't do it, and they still won't do it. It's that simple.
It's that simple, Larry. You're absolutely right. Look, when you think that you have a mandate from your God to kill Jews, to kill even moderate Muslims, to kill Christians, to kill non-believers, it's very hard to sit down at a table and say, "Hey, can we negotiate a compromise on this?" It's just not going to happen.
Well,
but we in the West transpose our morality on those who don't share it, as Margaret Thatcher famously said.
And that's why it's frustrating to see Anthony Blinken and Biden, parrot these bromides of the only solution. So real fast, and we are quickly running out of time. The Babylon Bee has a great headline. Flashback: Emperor Hirohito calls for ceasefire after bombing Pearl Harbor. But all of these calls for ceasefire and Biden imploring Netanyahu to pause his actions, it sort of left Israel in a very tough juxtaposition right now.
It's always this way when it comes to Israel, and I'm not for ceasefire. I'm for victory. Dwight Eisenhower wasn't for ceasefire before the Normandy invasion. We're for victory. Colin Powell has talked about this. If we're going to commit American troops, American lives, American resources to anything, the goal ought to be clear, and if it's not victory, we don't get involved. And the same kind of support Israel deserves. We got to kill the terrorists and give them a message they cannot get away with this. But thanks to the media and a lot of these wussy heads of state around the world, the support is shifting from Israel to those poor Palestinian people. But they're being kept there so they can be targets, so they can be paraded to CNN and others, and sympathy can shift from Israel.
He has been referred to as the Richard Roundtree of conservative commentary. He is our own Shaft. He is Cal Thomas.
Whoa. Oh, man. Yeah, I was sorry to see that he passed away. I love Shaft.
I know.
That was great.
Who did?
That was great music. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Well, Isaac Hayes action, in fact. Tafari Campbell was the private chef of the Obama family on Martha's Vineyard. He had been a sous chef at the White House, and then the Obama said, "Hey, Tafari, why don't you come and work for us and live with us at Martha's Vineyard?" And he said, "Absolutely, we will." And he died in July. We're told he died drowning in very shallow water after a paddleboarding accident. That's what we've been told. We were also told, of course, that neither of the Obamas were home at the time. The police told us that in multiple reports. Now we're learning actually Barack Obama was there. And was interviewed by police that evening. And now we have the 911 call. Jesse Waters put it out there. A lot of it's been redacted, I think, to protect the Secret Service member's identity who called.
Yep. Fox News alert. The 911 call and the drowning of Obama's personal chef, Tafari Campbell, has been released. We knew a Secret Service agent placed the call after the female Obama staffer paddleboarding with Tafari alerted him of the drowning. Now, we also know that there were 2 calls made. They've been released, heavily redacted, likely in order to protect the first family. Take a listen.
911, the sign's recorded. Where is your emergency?
We have a male drowning in the back of the property right now. We have our rescue swimmers. They're attempting to go out there right now. Someone came running up to our back post saying that a gentleman, it's just a guest of the house, is out there drowning. So right now, our rescue swimmers going out there.
And you said you guys have boat access, so what you guys need? Do you need an ambulance, or do you need water rescue as well?
They didn't advise right now. I would say at least an ambulance, and I don't know if what they're doing in the back of the property right now. So our rescue swimmers aren't able to locate the gentleman that was reported drowning. So they're out in the water right now, but as of now they don't know where he is.
We have everybody on the way over there now to meet with you guys and gather their resources.
So there's no mention of the Obamas on the call, but we now know the former president arrived at the incident command post after the 911 call was placed.
Yeah, there's also no mention of the woman who was paddleboarding with him. He does mention somebody coming up and telling us someone had drowned, but apparently that's the woman who had been paddleboarding with the gentleman who passed away. They also didn't recover his body until the next morning. There are a lot of questions. And it is weird when you get conflicting reports, but that happens sometimes.
And of course, adding to this sort of conspiracy that's going on about this.
Oh, is there a conspiracy about this?
Oh, yeah, because 48 hours after the chef's death, Obama was seen golfing, and he had a bandaged hand. So,
I'm told a lot of golfers wear bandages on their hands to keep them from blistering.
Is that right?
That's what a lot of people have said. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, so a lot of rumors swirling, especially after Obama, made that revelation that he fantasizes about men. So.
Oh, so there's rumors about that too?
Yeah,
with this
chef? It's all
chef?
tied together.
Really?
Yeah.
What websites do you go to?
I'm not saying anything. I've just read it.
Yeah, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. You are literally saying something.
I'm not saying anything on air.
We got to get a red light in this room. Thank you, Julie. It's 6:53.
Making sense of your world.
I agree with you 100%.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
There's a lot of us out there
Making sense of the news.